Hi everyone, today is March 28th, 2020, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger. Huge week in the Duel World. A lot of stuff going on. We have announcement of a new game, Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. I'm not really going to talk about this game, but we'll talk to everyone who has the game or people who have responded and see what they think about it. Probably Carmine's event is here. Also, the character Legendary Duelist acquisition for her. We'll talk about her new cards for this event and the event itself. A lot of new cards were released in the store this week. Selection Box Mini Volume 2. A lot of very important cards in this set. New MiniBOX, Fortress of Gears. We'll talk about the URs and SRs from that box. New event, Professional Aster just dropped this morning. 2 new cards from there. And Dimmaduel is here with an Aroma deck. Aromas have been revamped from the MiniBOX, so we'll talk about that as well as all of Esports and things like that. My week in the Duel World, I'm currently at Legend 3. I'm not really pushing a King of Games just because really I'm trying to limit my time on the computer, frankly. Just working from home every day, I lose the aspect of my job where I talk to people. So I'm on my computer all day and looking at CAT scans. So really that limits how much I could actually play games, frankly. But Legend 3, I've been playing 2 Lightsworn decks, Lightsworn Monarchs and Pure Lightsworns. Really, at this point of the month, really, you could hit King of Games with anything, and I'm not really trying it. Just trying to play games and do the events in the game, collect all the cards. It's pretty fun, though, the Lightsworn engines. And I did buy from the Selection Box Mini, and I got Chaos Dragon Levianeer, which is one of the main gets. People want to get Karma Cut, probably that's another main get from the box. There's a few main gets, but that really goes in my wheelhouse with Lightsworns, because Lightsworns do the chaos strategies of lights and darks, so I'm trying to see how Chaos Dragon Levianeer works for my decks. Alright, let's get into Esports. Duel Links Meta Weekly 117 first. First place Herbal, No Mortal Can Resist, Shiranui, 20 card Shiranui deck. They make immediate use of the card Ballista Squad, which is from the mini box. And Ballista Squad is a card. It goes along with many similar trap cards where the discard cost isn't a problem. It's not really a discard cost here, it's tribute 1 monster, so it's sending something to the graveyard, right? And it's going to work for those decks that like having monsters in the graveyard. Where you use this, it depends with Raigeki Break and Karma Cut and things like that, so great to see a card from the box just straight up in the deck. Otherwise, it's paired along with cards like, Fiendish Chain, Floodgate, Cosmic Cyclone, other good cards like that. Second place, Wayne Canoff. Crystron's, same deck again. This guy always gets top 4 of Crystron's. As long as he keeps doing it with the same exact deck, they are going to be a tiered deck in Duel Links meta, just because they're so good in the tournament setting. Top 4, Yehei, Alternative Evolution, Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes, they're pretty consistent deck now with the new tuners. There's the new tuners from the last box, Judgment Force, and they just get their Synchro Monster out really easily. It works great with Kaiba's Alternative Evolution skill. And then the trap cards, again, you could play around with what you use, but disposal is a benefit. So 2 Raigeki Breaks, 2 Ultimate Providence run in this deck. Probably with Karma Cut, that could be something, but Karma Cut is a card that's confined to that selection box, so not everyone has it. Top 4, Poker Guy 18, Master of Fusion Hero deck. This is the new hero deck. And the difference is this deck plays many different ways. It's not like the old Destiny Hero Masked Hero deck where Anki just ran over everything and you won the duel pretty easy. So this deck has 2 Vision Hero Ferris, 3 Elemental Hero Stratus, 2 Destiny Hero Malicious, 1 Vision Hero Increase, 1 Destiny Hero Celestial, 2 Vision Hero Vion, 2 Cosmic, 1 Destiny Draw, 1 Econ, 3 Mass Change, 1 Polymerization, 1 Treacherous Trap Hole. In the extra deck, you have 2 Ankies, 1 Blast, 2 Vision Hero Adoration, and 1 Vision Hero Trinity. Really, how the deck works, in a nutshell, you special summon Ferris. That requires a cost. And then the cost is typically going to be like Celestial or Malicious. Celestial helps you draw cards when you have no cards in your hand, and Malicious, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish it and then get your second Malicious from the deck. So that tutors out a monster. Now, Vision Hero Ferris gets special summoned, and then you could place a Vision Hero from your deck into the spell or trap zone. That's going to be Vision Hero Increase. Now, when Vision Hero Increase is in the spell or trap zone, you can bring it into the field. You could special summon it. That will allow you to special summon a Vision Hero from the deck. That's going to be Vion. Vion, you can banish a monster and then get Polymerization. And then you can get Vision Hero Adoration out. So, this deck thins out so easily, and there's many ways to play it. So, this is the new hero deck. Alright, so next tournament, the other tournament I'm going to talk about, there's a lot of them going on, but there's not enough time, is Mythgard Pro Series Special Edition number 1. First place, Nog Baggy Sleeves Thunder Dragons, Lightsworn Thunder Dragons, 30 card deck. Whole chaos thing is going on here. And the Thunder Dragons that they're using are primarily darks. There's 3 Dragon Hawks, which are the lights, 3 Dragon Darks, 2 Dragon Duo, 3 Dragon Roar, and those are all dark monsters. You have 2 Raiden Lightsworns and 3 Charge of the Light Brigade. That's the Lightsworn package to help you dispose of cards, and also your tuners. There's 3 Plague Spreader Zombies and 1 Glow Up Bulb. Those are your other tuners in the deck. Chaos Dragon Levianeer mixed into the deck, so you could do the light and dark thing. Yeah, and then there's a Karma Cut too, so there's a lot going on here, and a deck like this can really afford to do it. Baggy Sleeves is becoming a favorite in certain Lightsworn decks, like Monarchs. Lightsworn Monarchs use Baggy Sleeves too. Second place, Luxin Master of Fusion Hero deck. Again, this is the same deck as the one I mentioned before, but the ratios are a little off. It's not off, but they're still trying to figure it out. This deck runs 3 Vision Hero Ferris, which is probably a good idea. It's probably like fishing out 3 of the UR from the box, and that's how many you'll play. Top 4, Ricky, Alternative Evolution Blue Eyes. Again, Blue Eyes aren't completely solidified into the deck, and there might be multiple ways to play it. This one's a little more old school. We've got 2 copies of Cosmo Brain, and then 1 copy of Whitestone of Legend, 3 cards of Consonance, and then in the back row, 1 Divine Wrath, 1 Raigeki Break, 2 Karma Cuts. So these are all cards that discard cards, do something to the opponent, and Blue Eyes don't mind doing that. And top 4, Hexy Shadow Game Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale is a deck that's kind of a joke. It looks like whatever, but it's a really complete deck. There's the Golden Castle of Stromberg, which mills you like crazy, but then it prevents your monsters from getting attacked, and then you do some burn damage, right? So it's a very strong spell that they have to get rid of to win the duel. Like, there's no way your opponent can win unless they get rid of this card. And there's a lot else going on here. 2 Lava Golems. Of course, you're running Shadow Games, so you're burning your opponent every turn. And of course, this works because Stromberg banishes the cards face down, so they don't count in the graveyard. 2 Mithras to get that Lava Golem going on. Princess and the Carriage. That's your direct attacker with the Glass Slippers. Glyph the Phantom Bird. You need 3 of those to tutor out your Strombergs and also your back row. 3 Psychic Wheel Dealers. 3 Artifact Lancia. Grand Maju the Aza for being a beat stick. Yeah, there's a lot going on with this deck. It's very complete. Bit of a joke, but always tough to fight against. All the tournaments culminate into the Duel Links meta tier list update. Blue Eyes White Dragons have been promoted to tier 1, along with Cristrons and Element Sabers. Frankly, I haven't seen Element Saber a ton in these top 4, but I'm sure they're still pretty good. Cristrons, of course, are consistent. whenever they do get into tournaments, they do very well. Tier 2 Shiranui and Thunder Dragons are here, moved up. Thunder Dragons really get a lot of help from the Chaos strategies that seem to be getting better with each card release. With Dark Magician in Tier 2, Dark Magician's always good. Tier 3, Dark Lords, Lunalights, Cyber Dragons, and Blackwings. All these are pretty good decks still. Lunalight and Cyber Dragon and Blackwings, they're all pretty similar decks, really. They're really quick decks. Alright, so let's move on to Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. I did not get this game, but it's not a mobile game, so that's something to note. It's on Steam. I'm not really sure if you have to pay for it. You probably do. Let me just pull up Steam right now. But one of the things that they, obviously with the name Link Evolution, they're talking about Link summoning. And that makes you wonder what it means for Duel Links, because Duel Links is also a game you could play on Steam. And does that mean that there's going to be no Link summoning, no pendulum summoning in Duel Links? It's hard to say, but like they're separating the game, right? It seems, unless, yeah, it's $40. It's definitely too much. That's going to be a lot of cards I'll never buy for Duel Links, but yeah. So like one thing that it mentioned is it has 150 duelists, so that's a lot of minor characters that they're going to pull from all the series to fill up 150. And it makes you think whether Duel Links will ever get there, but we still don't even have XCs for Duel Links, so we could still think short term right now and not worry about that. 4 responses from our listeners. Card Game Penguin says, personally, I love it. I do agree that Duel Links makes it feel slow and clunky, but I love that it's a real Yu-Gi-Oh game with current summoning and cards, which I'm very happy about. It'll be a bit of a grind, but I'm enjoying it. Grand Terrier, it's the draw phase. Would you like to activate a card? It's the standby phase. Would you like to activate a card? It's the main phase. Would you like to activate a card? It's before the battle phase. Playing it is like playing with toggle on all the time. Now, I'm wondering if that's a controllable feature or if that's how dueling is with Link summoning. Because if it is that way, it's pretty annoying when you're used to the fast pace of speed duels, and especially with the lowered mechanics present in Duel Links, you're not used to the new mechanics going on. So if you're a TCG player, maybe that is how Yu-Gi-Oh is played nowadays. But that's a lot of control of every phase. Marble Scrabble says, my hypothesis is Legacy of the Duelist is just Konami trying to let players realize how superior Duel Links is in terms of UI. I bought it and realized how amazing Duel Links were, so came back and did more microtransactions over there. So, I never really thought Duel Links had amazing UI. I always thought it was okay. It works for the phone, so that's all that matters. And if the UI in Legacy of the Duelist is that bad, it has to be. There's a reason it's a computer game instead of a phone game, because the UI just sucks. It can't get onto a phone, I guess. Doug Dimmaduel, Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk, who will be on later in the show with an Aroma deck, says, not a whole lot in my opinion. They are different formats with different metas. Plus, cell phone games seem to be the ultimate convenience for casual gamers. Yes. Even though we are all inside, well, I can't say all inside. A lot of people are working from home nowadays. They don't need the convenience of the mobile phone. But let's say I was out and about and playing on the trains, I would definitely, that's stuff. I'm not bringing a computer to the train, so yeah, having a phone game is superior in that regard for sure, for on-the-go purposes. And Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, that is just meant to be a standalone computer game. UI's clunky, too many mechanics going on. That's the whole bottom line of Legacy of the Duelist. Alright, let's get on to in-game events. Carmine. So, this is her acquisition event after her first appearance, I believe. Her first appearance gave a lot of those Fortune Fairy cards. So last time we had cards like Fortune Fairy Hikari, Miracle Stone, Dwimmered Path, Fortune Fairy Chi. I think the other ones too, like Fortune Fairy Sui or something. I forget what, but um, I don't know how everyone feels about this event, but I actually really liked it. Like, it gave you a reason to grind, and it's not really a grind because we do have to level up our characters. My Blair Flanagan's still level 40, I think. I still have a lot of gems to get from her. And Carly still needs to be leveled. So this gives you a reason to play Duel Links. It really does. And the fact that you have to fulfill special investigation notes changes how you play. Like, I just played a Monarch deck that made me tribute summon 3 times and do 3 trap cards in one duel. So I fulfilled 2 investigation notes there. It was a little slow though. They gave like 30 points sometimes. So this is the thing with the investigation notes that are tricky. You're lured by the picture of the gems, but those give you like 30 points. And then some like gold pack is like 150. So they lure you into picking gems, but then those don't progress you in the event. So it kind of sucks, but a lot of good things about this event. You could help each other unlimited. You could ask for help 10 times, which is more than enough in a day. I got all the cards already. There's no need to grind. Like, you get a few packs and you got all the cards ready. I got my Fortune Fairy N and my Temperance in 2 days, I think. So, great in that regard. And then you can collect all the cards. Gems aren't a ton, but you keep getting them, so it feels good. If that makes any sense. You get R stones. I really like this event. So we'll talk about the 2 new cards from this event this time, and then at some future podcast episode, I'll talk about Carly's level up cards and duel skills. So she's got 7 unique duel skills, which is a lot, and 4 level up cards. Those will be saved for a future episode. So the first card she gives for this event is Fortune Fairy N. Level 2 Fire Spellcaster 0/0. When you draw this card, you can reveal it. Special summon it from your hand. If this is special summoned from the hand, target one set card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can use each effect once per turn. So, Fortune Fairies have this gimmick where when they're drawn, they come onto the board, they have an effect. And they're pretty much useless in terms of attacking because they're 0/0s. And they have pseudo synergy with Fortune Ladies in that they're considered Fortune Ladies. Like, Fortune Lady Calling would cheat one of these out. But the effects don't go off because they're hand effects. Fortune Fairy End's really good. You could target one set card your opponent controls, destroy it. That could be a monster, that could be a spell. And that's the best part about it. It is a little awkward though because it's a level 2 and Fortune Ladies typically, they don't run a level 2, I think. They're all Past is a 1, Light's a 1, Wind's 3, Water's 4. Yeah, so they don't run a level 2, but Fortune Fairy Past can manipulate levels, on the fly, and then there's time passage, so it should be able to work in Fortune Ladies somehow. The difference is that it changes what monsters you play in the deck, but they draw cards so well with Fortune Lady Water and also with Future Fortune, so this effect can go off pretty easily, even though it's dependent on that. Now, we did see this card played in an Invoke deck in a tournament. It is a fire, it's like a Magician Invoke deck. There's Chocolate Magician Girl, and then this is the fire component, so this helps Purgatrio, so that's one way to use it. You can just get the card, destroy something, and then use it for Purgatrio. That's definitely a great use for Fortune Fairy N. I'm not saying that it has to be a Fortune Lady card, but it is a spellcaster. For whatever purpose you use for spellcasters, you can use it for the thing that makes Quintet Magician, for example. So, a very versatile card. Could be Fortune Lady card, could be generally good fire spellcaster for Invoked. The other new card is Temperance of Prophecy, level 3 Earth Spellcaster 1000/1000. During your main phase, if you activated a spellbook previously this turn, You contribute this card, special summon one level 5 or higher light or dark spellcaster from your deck. You cannot special summon another level 5 or higher monster during the turn you activate this effect. So, spellbooks are pretty much dead in the water. And this card is conditional in that you have to have her on the board, and then you play a quick spell, because this is during your main phase. So there's no main phase 2 in Duel Links. So your main phase is after your standby phase. You draw, standby phase, main. And that requires a quick play. So you're going to need to quick play, and then you contribute this, level 5, light or dark. A lot of monsters can fit there. You're probably thinking Dark Magician, but Dark Magicians just do it so well, you might as well think outside the box. So, unless there's some really broken combo that comes along, I don't see this being good. Light or Dark Spellcaster, level 5. Until that gets released, there's some broken combo. This card probably won't see any play, and it's not worth just running spellbooks just to play this card and just to get a level 5 for light or dark, right? So, it's a bit of work. I know some of those, when spellbooks first came out, they were running a bunch of monsters that could come out. It's meant for those cards because they are like big spellcasters and things like that. But that's all I have to say about Temperance. And anyways, I really liked this Carly event. Got her pretty easily, and yeah, it's a reason to play Duel Links. It's a reason to get rewards. It's a reason to level up your characters instead of just mindless farming, which I don't really like. So let's move on. New cards. Selection Box Mini Volume 2. And with any of the selection boxes, they're around for a limited amount of time, and they let you buy a certain amount of gems before it converts to money. And what it is it's really a thing for whales right now, in that they could spend money right now and get 3 copies of these cards. You see someone running a lot of Carmine cuts, that kind of tells you that they have a lot of money. And these cards will be released in the future, but it's paying for the opportunity cost to have them. And right now, the opportunity cost is playing this Kaiba Cup right now, and also winning tournaments in the future months to get these cards. So, really, that's what we're talking about here. 7 new cards, and there's an asterisk on the first one, because it's not a new card, but... Alright, let's get to the card. Cyber Dragon, Alternate Art Cyber Dragon. This one is a gray one. Like regular Cyber Dragon, level 5. If your opponent controls a monster, special summon this card from your hand. So, Alternate Art, it's fun when it's free, but then it's clogging up a UR slot in the selection box. Not cool. It's bad optics, I'll say it. Konami is known for being greedy, and then they slot in a alternate art into a UR spot for your selection box mini. It doesn't look good. That's all I have to say. Alright, second card, Witch of the Black Forest. If you don't know this, you probably never played Yu-Gi-Oh! Level 4 Spellcaster Dark, 1100, 1200. If this is sent from the field to the graveyard, add 1 monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand, but you cannot activate cards or effects of cards with that name for the rest of the turn. So, this is obviously the defense version of Sangan. Sangan is 1,000 or less, 1,500 or less attack. Witch of the Black Forest is 1,500 or less defense. Back when this card was printed in the TCG, I remember this card from Metal Raiders. I had one of these. It never had that second ability where you can't activate the card. That's something they added later on into the game to make the card less broken. I think they took it off a limit list because of it. But Witch of the Black Forest, you get the card, but then you can't play it, right? So 1,500 or less defense is a lot more inclusive than Sangan. Sangan, the attack, this lets you get a big monster with like 3,000 attack and 0 defense, right? So Witch of the Black Forest is better than Sangan, typically. And there's a lot of things that qualify for this effect to go off. Getting sent from the field to the graveyard, that's, like a tribute summon, cost, getting destroyed. So there's a lot of ways this can get into the graveyard. You can help tutor your card. But of course, with the rule change and this being speed duels, it's a little slow. You get the card, but you can't play it. And yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Witch of the Black Forest would have been a great card, but that slowness will limit it quite a bit in Duel Links. So it's not going to be played universally, I think. One of the main gets from the box, Chaos Dragon Levineer, level 8 Dark Dragon, 3000 attack, 0 defense, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 light and or dark monsters from your graveyard. When summoned this way, you can apply this effect based on how many attributes of monsters were banished. Also, this card cannot attack for the rest of the turn. Only light monsters, special summon 1 monster from your graveyard in defense. Only dark monsters, shuffle 1 random card from your opponent's hand into the deck. Both lights and darks, destroy up to 2 cards in the field. You can use this effect once per turn. So, how do I begin? This is another Chaos card, but it's different, and then you get to pick which attributes you banish for it. If you have a graveyard full of stuff that you've milled from your Charge of the Light Brigades, that's great. You get to pick based on the situation. I think the light one's probably the worst because I'm just setting you up for a synchro play. That's what it is because the monster can't even attack. Now, if you pick darks only is probably the hardest to do because the decks typically run more light monsters than dark monsters. But let's say you're playing Lightsworn Dark Lords or Lightsworn Thunder Dragons, you might have an abundance of dark monsters and that you would want to use that ability. And that's a great ability against hand effects like Kiteroids. You could end your opponent who was stalling with a Kiteroid in their hand. You could just end the duel right there. The most easy one to do is both lights and darks. When you're playing Lightsworns, you have both of them, so typically that's how many you'll use anyways, and you get to destroy 2 cards in the field. And the thing about this ability is that you could use it every turn. You can use this effect once per turn. And I think you get to use it whenever you want too. So you could just do it at any phase that helps disrupt your opponent at any step. And this is a free special summon, 3000 attack. A huge boost to anything running a Chaos strategy. So any deck that runs Lightsworns, like Dark Lords, Thunder Dragons, anything that has lights and darks, this is pretty much automatic, I think. Of course, it clunks up your hand. You want to limit the number of cards that clunk up your hand, so your Wolves and your Chaos Summoners, those kind of are the same thing as Chaos Dragon Levineer. And you don't want too many of those cards, but this is really good for what it is. I'm happy I did get one for my gem purchases of the selection box. And really, one is all you need. This is a card that you don't need a ton of. Let's move on to the SRs. Fairy Tale Rello, level 4, light spellcaster, 1850, 1000. Neither player can target monsters on the field with spells or effects, except this one. Once per turn, you can discard 1 spell card, equip 1 spell card from your hand, deck, or graveyard to this card, but return that spell card to the hand during the end phase. This is a weird card. It provides protection against targets, but only spells and effects, so it ignores traps. With some cards, we've seen how good anti-target protection is with Lunalights, and also in the Synchro Toolbox deck, the Archfiend. The Archfiend's Call, yeah. Those cards can't get targeted, so that's a pretty good ability. This one specifically has synergy with equip cards, though, which makes me think, and it's a spellcaster, which makes me think it's a draw engine card. It could do Wonder Wand, it could do Bamboo, so there's different ways you could draw cards with this card. And that seems to be what it's getting at. So it seems to be like an Exodia deck card, which makes it less useful. It's not going to see a ton of play, I think. United We Stand, equip spell. The equipped monster gains 800 attack and defense for each face-up monster you control. Huge beatstick equip. attack and defense. That's huge. Maximum 2400 attack and defense. Pretty devastating with concentrating current. That'll make it like 4800. Of course, you need a full board of monsters, but let's say you only have two, 3200 with concentrating current. This might see play in like maybe Invoke decks, I want to say, because Invoke Toxidus and those other guys, Purgatrio, they all have pretty good defense. Purgatrio especially is dangerous with this card. It's probably not better than Power of the Guardians, because that's the universal good equip spell that protects them, they gain attack. I think this is worse than Power of the Guardians, but in an explosive deck, again, like Invoked with Purgatrio, this could be pretty devastating. So I don't know. Maybe this card. I think this card will sneak in somewhere, and that they'll just blow you away. One hit. Karma Cut. Talked about this card a lot. Right? Trap card. Discard one card. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Banish it. Then banish all cards with the same name as that monster from your opponent's graveyard. This is devastating in the late game. Let's say they have some monsters in the graveyard already. They play this one, you banish them all. So it's not even late game. It's in Duel Links. Let's say they do some kind of like Light Sworn setup. They mill a bunch of stuff. They play one, and then you banish all of them. It's huge. And Raigeki Break is seeing a lot of play now. That one's discard one, target one card. This is discard one, target one face-up monster, banish. So there's always conditions to each card that makes it different. This being a banish rather than a destroy is the advantage here. And also that extra destruction, that extra banish of all the monsters from your opponent's graveyard. So there are situations where you'll play Raigeki Break over your Karma Cuts. There may be many situations where you include both into your deck. But overall, this is a card that is a staple for decks that like having cards in the graveyard. We saw Ballista Squad earlier. I think Ballista Squad is immediately worse than these cards. These discard from hand is definitely easier than tributing the monster on the board. So this is kind of on the same vein of Divine Wrath. Ultimate Providence is a little more situational. It's for more of a balanced deck, so that one's more of at a disadvantage. But Karma Cut is definitely it's probably the main get of this mini box. It's better than Chaos Dragon Levianeer. I would say this is probably the main get whenever it comes into a box. Last new card is a trap card called Prideful Roar. During damage calculation, if your monster battles an opponent's monster of a higher attack, pay life points equal to the difference in attack. Your monster gains attack equal to that difference plus 300 during damage calculation only. Interesting combat trick. You're going to get hit by a bigger monster, or you're hitting a bigger monster. You lose life points, you beat them by 300. This is only useful for losing life points. It only works once in that effect. It's just a one-time deal, so I think Mirror Wall is immediately better than this card, because you could pay 2,000, you could trigger any of your dual skills. This one helps you trigger a dual skill. I think that's the main use of it. And then you beat them by 300. That's it. Yeah, this card's not amazing in my opinion, but it might see very situational play in certain skills that require a loss of life points. So that is it for the Selection Box Mini Volume 2. Get these cards. These cards are worth getting, I think. Especially if you score a Karma Cut, that's definitely... I'm happy I scored the Chaos Dragon, so... Yeah, that is the Selection Box Mini. Next up is the MiniBOX Fortress of Gears. This was released earlier in the week. I didn't buy any of this box, and frankly, it's not the worst box in the world, but there's nothing that really jumped out at me, but this definitely does have a lot of good cards to help certain archetypes. I wouldn't say anything is a must-have, but the card that down the line maybe I may be interested in, but with gems the way they are right now, there definitely is no reason for me to buy this box right now. yeah. Talk about the URs and SRs. I might get back to the Rs somewhere down the line, but I don't know if there's time right now. But there are some interesting cards here. Doug Dimmaduel could talk about the Aromas later in a bit. Um, let's get to the URs and SRs, and they're all the same in a mini box. There's only one copy of each. First card's Machina Fortress, level 7 machine, Earth 2500 1600. You can discard machine monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more, then special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. Before resolving an opponent's monster's effect that targets this face-up card, look at your opponent's hand, discard one card from their hand. This card's unique in that you could use it as the cost to summon it. So it requires 8 or more stars. This one's 7, so you toss this fortress and then another card, and then you could special summon it from the graveyard. 2500 attack, and then if it gets destroyed, you get to counter destroy something. If it gets the better effect is that if it gets an effect targets it, you can force an opponent to lose a card in their hand. Your opponent can play around this. They could have no cards in their hand, which is a very common thing in Duel Links. So they could hit it with an effect. But let's say they're not reading the card and then they mess up and they lose the card in their hand and they're screwed. So that's what this card does. It's actually a pretty good card. It's pretty much a free 2500 for those decks that don't mind it. But it only works for machines, so Cyber Dragons, I think that's the main machine deck right now. Orcists could work, because Orcists have some synergy with cards in the graveyard and coming back, so maybe something there as well. There's that level 1 tuner, Unknown Synchron or something. I think one of Yusei's cards that's 1 star, so that could work too. Overall, I think the package of this is pretty good. It could fit into any of these machine decks. And of course it works for decks that don't mind having stuff in the graveyard. That's the main appeal of it. Second card is Vision Hero Ferris, level 5 Dark Warrior, 1618. You can discard one hero monster, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, place one Vision Hero monster from your deck face up in your spell or trap zone as a continuous trap, except for this one. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for heroes. You can only use this effect once per turn. As I mentioned before, this is the main combo card. It's gotten heroes back into the competitive scene. You start off by discarding this card. You dump a Celestial or a Malicious, probably Malicious. You bring Malicious back. Then you special summon the monster into the trap zone. The Vision Hero increase. You bring increase out, and then you do a lot of stuff. So, really what the deck excels at is deck thinning and facilitating monsters' movements throughout the deck. So, definitely a core card in the new hero deck. The last UR is Ballista Squad. Trap card, tribute one monster, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. So, along with Karma Cut, here's a new trap card, removal trap, for decks that like having stuff in the graveyard. A little more situational compared to those where you discard, because you have to have the monster on the board. So that sometimes will cost you your normal summon, and that's something you don't want to do. You kind of do a 2-for-1, but hopefully having that monster costed into the graveyard will get it back or get something back to the board. So that's the only situation where you would use this card. Decks that can just get monsters straight from the graveyard onto the board pretty easily, they can just run this card without worry. So Ballista Squad is definitely a core card for certain decks. Now to the SRs of the box. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, level 10 Dark Dragon, Synchro, 1 tuner, and 1 non-tuner Dark Dragon Synchro, 3500 3000. You contribute 1 monster, target 1 Red Dragon Archfiend. In your graveyard, special summon it. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon 2 tuner monsters with the same level, 1 from your deck and 1 from your graveyard in defense mode. You can use each effect once per turn. So, there's a lot going on here. This is a Red Dragon Archfiend. Bane, Hot, and it's not going to see play for a lot of reasons because it requires a Dark Dragon Synchro as the Synchro monster. It's designed for Red Dragon Archfiend typically, so you're doing 2 Synchro summons in a turn, which is typically hard to do. Sometimes it does work, but you'll need to line it up. And there's a lot of ways to disrupt it nowadays. I think Dark End Dragon's probably the best choice to use though, because you could use its ability to send a card to the graveyard, and then it's weaker, so then you could just use the weaker monster as material for Red Dragon Archfiend, Bane, but then you can't bring back Red Dragon Archfiend, right? So this specifically has synergy with Red Dragon Archfiend, and then you get 2 tuners onto the board, which doesn't do much, it just clogs up the board, and they can't even attack to end the game. That's the downside of that ability. And there's only 3 monster zones, so it's not like you can make another synchro play that turn. So there's a lot of reasons this card won't see a lot of play. Splendid Rose, level 6 Wind Plant Synchro. Generic requirements: 2200 attack, 2000 defense. Once per turn, you can banish a plant monster from your graveyard. Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Have that target's attack until the end of the turn. During the battle phase, if this card attacked, you can banish 1 plant monster in your graveyard. Have this card's attack until the end of the turn. If you do, this card can make a second attack during this battle phase. So this card actually fits very well with the toolbox, Synchro Toolbox deck. Level 6, which is all those monsters are level 6 except for Aster, but it's a plant as well, so they run Angel Trumpeter, which is a level 4 plant, so then you can banish those cards. You can also banish the Dark Verger if you're done using that card. But there's a bit of anti-synergy with that deck in that you're banishing your plants and then you can't use Battle Tuned for them. So there are situations where that is anti-synergy with this card, but it should work where you don't always have Battle Tuned, and then you could just use this ability instead. So there's also a possibility that there's enough plant support in this mini box that you could do it. Aromas are plants, for example, so they could run this card. There's a lot of uses for this card. I think Aromas are probably the best use because they have extra plant monsters that they don't use for Battle Tuned. So this is a pretty good card, I think. Next up is Machina Gearframe, level 4. Earth Machine Union 1800 0. When this card is normal summoned, you can add a Machina monster from your deck to your hand, except for this one. Once per turn, you can equip it to a machine as a union, basically. If the equipped monster will be destroyed, you destroy this card instead. So unions are a very outdated effect ability, but they just equip to other machines. And this one's main effect is you tutor any Machina monster, and you'll probably want to get your Machina Fortress, but you could get any of the other ones as well. So, pretty good. If there's some kind of machine deck that does use Machina Fortress, hard to say if it'll be used outside of that, but it could just be played as a little package in a Cyber Dragon deck or something, some kind of machine deck that could just use these cards. And that's like a little engine that thins the deck, of course. It's very minimal. You could just run 2 or 3 of these and then 1 Machina Fortress, and that'll be it. Vision Hero Increase, level 3, Dark Warrior, 900, 1100. If you take battle or effect damage, you can place this card from your graveyard face up in your spell or trap zone as a continuous trap. During your main phase, while this card is treated as a continuous trap, you contribute 1 hero monster, special summon this card. If this card is special summoned from the spell or trap zone, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Vision Hero from your deck. You can use each effect once per turn. This is, part of that whole combo play. You cheat this out. You use Ferris's ability to put this into the spell or trap zone. You bring this onto the board, and then you special summon Vion, and then you get Polymerization, and then you can play Trinity or Adoration. So, part of the new package. You only need 1 of these, though, but you do need more Ferris, so you'll probably get more of these by accident. Now let's talk about some BLS cards. Super Soldier Soul, level 1 Earth Warrior 0/0. You can send one Blackluster Soldier monster from your hand to the graveyard until your opponent's next end phase. this card's attack becomes 3,000, and its name is Blackluster Soldier. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add one Beginning Night or one Evening Twilight Night from your deck to your hand. You can use each effect once per turn. So this is very interesting. It's a 1-star 3,000 beat stick. You'll probably want a lot of these just to maximize that ability. But you send a monster from your hand to graveyard, and then for your turn, your opponent's turn, it's 3,000 attack. And then you could banish it, and then you could tutor one of your helper cards. Beginning Night and Evening Twilight Night are rare, are rarity cards that each have they work very well with the new BLS synergy here. They're great cards, so this can help you get those cards, and then you could just get your Ritual Summon out pretty easily thanks to those cards. Those cards are worth talking about some other podcast episode. Envoy of Chaos, level 4, Dark Warrior, 1500-0. During either player's battle phase, you can discard this card, target one Blackluster Soldier monster or one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster you control. It gains 1500 attack until the end of the turn. If it does, every opponent's monster that battles it this turn has its attack become that monster's original attack during damage calculation only. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish one light and one dark from your graveyard, except this one added to your hand. This goes along with those helper cards I just mentioned. This is more of a hand combat trick, though. It's really good. You discard it, your monster gains 1500, and then you could alter the attack of multiple monsters on your opponent's side of the board. So you could lower all of their attacks, and that's pretty good. While this is a way to win the game, Luna Lights probably do it better. They make the monster 0, and then they hit twice, and they win the duel. Some chaos synergy here, so then you could banish the light and the dark. That would be your Beginning Night and your Evening Twilight. You banish both of them, and then you get enough materials for a ritual spell and a ritual summon. So, you get a ritual spell and ritual monster, so that's what that is for. Synergy just works really well. Red Sprinter, level 4, Fiend, Fire, 1700-1200. When this card is normal or special summoned while you control no other monsters, you can special summon one level 3 or lower Fiend, Tuner from your hand or graveyard. Use this effect once per turn. This is kind of the Red Dragon Archfiend synergy here, but it's similar to Junk Synchron or Black Salvo. It's a little better though because instead of just being graveyard, you can special summon a card from the hand. It works for any of your level 7 generic synchro summons. Also specializes with fiends. Next card's a spell card called Sky Striker Maneuver Jamming Waves. Spell card. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target one set spell or trap on the field, destroy it. Then if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can destroy one monster on the field. So this could be a very value card. It's a rare 2 for 1. You could destroy 2 for the cost of 1. So it's pretty good late game control. Could be sneaky good in a deck that runs a lot of spells into the graveyard, so anything like you're running your spell books, or I'm saying spell books, but it's not really going to get played. Light Sworns could just get a lot of stuff into the graveyard as well. So, and better yet, this destroy one monster is not a target, so you could destroy your opponent's Luna Lights. So definitely, this is something to consider for any deck that just runs a lot of. I think this could work for Spell Specialist Light Sworns, because they need to run 6 spell cards anyways, and this could replace your Galaxy Cyclone, for example. The next one is Humid Winds, and I must say something about Humid Winds first. Aromas are no longer free to play. Their cards were all available at the trader. In this box, there's some R's and N's, sure, but then they throw in Humid Winds into the SR. What a shame. Humid Winds, continuous trap card. You can pay 1,000 life points, add an Aroma monster from your deck to your hand. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain 500. You can use each effect once per turn. So, It's rare that these win cards, they pay life points. Previously, Aromas just gained life points, so now you pay life points. And they're actually decent when you can facilitate what's going on. So this is probably a core card for the deck. There's another win card that works for them. I'm sure it's win cards, Aroma Gardening. So yeah, it's probably worth it. And then they gain life points. So then you could boost up your monsters and trigger those abilities that go off when they gain life points. Finally, Wall of Thorns, trap card. When a plant monster you control is targeted for an attack, destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls. So this is just Mirror Force for plants. Might as well put this into Aroma, as any deck that runs plant cards, this is just super good. It's Mirror Force just for plants. Alright, so with that discussion of the URs and SRs out of the way, I'm going to give it to Doug Dimmaduel for his deck of the week. He's got Aromas. As mentioned before, Aromas are the main free-to-play deck that all their cards are available from the trader, except for this new box. You've got new cards, Humid Winds, Marjorams, and R. And then ends, you've got Laurel, you've got Aroma Gardening. I may have missed something, but those are the new cards in this box. Check out Doug Dimmaduel's Aroma deck right here.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmaduel with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. I'm going to keep this one quick because I'm all cooped up inside the house on quarantine with the missus, and I'm sure she's tired of hearing me going and doing all these Yu-Gi-Oh things. So I'm going to run through this one. This is an Aroma deck that is just a lot of fun. I've been waiting for Aromas to get more support. Unfortunately, it broke the trend where it used to be only bought in the card trader, the ultimate free-to-play, but now they're throwing it into a mini-box. Could have been worse. They could have thrown it and sprinkled it around main boxes, but, this is a lot of the stuff that I think is really going to do Aromas and Aromages some justice. This is just phenomenal. It's not the most competitive archetype right now. There's a lot of very effective archetypes to run, but this is just a fun deck to play. So really what I want to utilize is just some of the synchro plays, but some of the new traps in the new mini box, specifically Wall of Thorns. This is like a mirror force. This is fantastic. When a plant type monster you control is targeted for an attack, destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls. That's one of the big things I'm running this deck around. This just blows up your opponent's board if they're trying to go for an all-out OTK on some of your Aromage monsters. But let me go through here. First we have Aromage Kananga, I don't know how to pronounce these things. Level 3 plant, 1400 attack. While your life points is higher than your opponent's, face-up monsters your opponent controls loses 500 attack and defense. Then if you gain life points once per turn, target one spell or trap card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. That's really good for some of those pesky equip spell cards, so I like sending those suckers back to the hand. Also some of those weird field spells and continuous spells and traps, even if they just have a set card down during the turn that they play it, you have a lot more options because you can start gaining life points during your opponent's turn. Specifically with Aromas Therapy Angelica, which is a plant tuner, 0 attack, 0 defense. During either player's turn, you can discard this card, then target one Aroma monster in your graveyard and gain life points equal to that target's attack. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, and you control an Aroma monster, and this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So level 1 tuner, this will get you into some of your synchro plays very easily, but also activating this during your opponent's turn can trigger some of the effects, specifically Aromage Rosemary, to start changing your opponent's monsters from attack to defense position or vice versa. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, if a plant type monster you control attacks, your opponent cannot activate monster effects until the end of the damage step. Once per turn, if you gain life points, target one face-up monster on the field and change its battle position. I love this card, and it pairs really well with Angelica. It's fantastic. Then, of course, you have your Aromas Bergamot, level 6 plant, 2400 attack, 1800 defense. This is the card you really want to start using for a synchro play. Your level 6, and then hopefully get your level 1 Aromas Therapy Angelica onto the field, and go into your level 7 play for Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Level 7 Fairy, 1 Light Tuner, 1 or more non-tuner monsters, 2100 attack, 2000 defense. While your life points is higher than your opponent's, this card gains attack equal to the difference. And then vice versa if your life points are lower. So if you're up 4, 5, 6,000 life points on your opponent, now you have just a huge monster on the field with a huge attack, and this is one of the game changers. But I also have Aromas Marjoram, which is a level 5 plant, 2000 attack, 1600 defense. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, you take no battle damage involving plant-type monsters. Let's see, you can only use each effect per turn. When a plant-type monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card and then gain 500 life points. If you gain life points, target cards in your opponent's graveyard up to the number of Aroma monsters you control and banish them. Really good. This level 5 plus the level 1 tuner can get you into a level 6 play for Brionac Dragon of the Ice Barrier. If you remember, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner, you can discard cards from your hand and send cards back to your opponent's hand. So this is a nice surprise play because everybody thinks if you're running an Aroma deck, you're going to go with Aromas Therapy Rosemary, the level 5 plant synchro monster with 2000 attack. When your life points are higher than your opponent's, all your plant-type monsters gain 500 attack and defense, all that fun stuff. Or going into your Armades play as well, which is pretty common. So, but yeah, really the synchro plays are fantastic. What I do like to run, though, is Humid Winds. This is your Searcher. This is your Searcher card. You could use this once per turn. It's great. You can pay 1,000 life points, add 1 Aroma monster from your deck to your hand. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain 500 life points. So overall, this is one of the best cards. But then running Blessed Winds to also, on a whim, special summon from your graveyard. You could do a few things, send 1 plant-type monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard and gain 500 life points. This can help you trigger some of those effects very quickly, especially Rosemary. Let's see, also target 1 plant-type monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then gain 500 life points, or pay 1,000 life points and special summon 1 Aroma monster from your graveyard. You can only use the effect once per turn. So this card, I think, even though it's only a normal, this is the kind of thing where sometimes the normal or the rares are a lot more powerful than the SRs or the URs. This, I think, is one of the best trap cards for this archetype. It's very dynamic, very flexible. It allows you to go into a whole lot of plays. So, anyway, I think Aromas are finally here. They finally arrived. Too little too late, I think. It's not the most meta-relevant deck, and there's probably tons of other ways to build it, but I want to build mine around Wall of Thorns. So, again, that nice little mirror force that you got going on against your opponent's attack monsters. I love this trap card, so that's why I'm running this deck. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, that's it for my casual deck of the week. I will see you next time. Take care.
All right, thanks, Doug. You can check out Doug on his podcast every week with his deck of the week, and also on his Twitter page, Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk. Last thing I want to mention today before upcoming news is Professional Aster. He was snuck in this morning, Saturday morning, so 2 new cards from Aster. And he's actually very important because heroes are a meta again, so is the timing of this could have been planned. They could have meant this event to work when they expected heroes to become meta thanks to Vision Heroes. But in addition to these 2 new cards, there's a lot of cards that you're getting 3 copies of for the first time. So that includes Diamond Dude, Double Dude, Destiny Signal, Destiny Mirage, Over Destiny, Captain Tenacious, D Formation, and D Chain. So these are all cards you could get 3 copies of. New cards, D Mind, spell card. If you control no Destiny Hero monsters, special summon 1 level 3 or lower Destiny Hero monster from your deck. So it's cool to cheat out a monster for free from the deck. That's the best way to special summon a monster. But the problem is, have any level 3 or lower Destiny Heroes ever been played? The answer is no. I think the main one was Dreamer. I think Dreamer saw play a little bit, but the 3 main Destiny Hero monsters are all level 4. That's Drill Dark, Celestial, and Cider. Those are all level 4 monsters. Now the new deck is running Malicious. Malicious is level 6, so that is it. This is for those other, like Captain Tenacious, something like lesser monsters. And maybe, I'm not counting this out completely, but maybe you can use this to thin out the deck some more, and then you could get more bodies on the board to fusion summon. So it's not a completely worthless card, but you'll have to run those other monsters that are not the best monsters, I guess. That's the best way of putting it. Next one's called D-Time. Trap card, when an elemental hero monster you control leaves the field, add a Destiny Hero monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to that elemental hero monster's level. So this one's worthy of play because the new hero deck runs Elemental Hero Stratus, which is a level 4. So leaves the field could mean a few things. Could mean polymerization, it could mean mask change, it could mean the monster getting destroyed. So you gain a Destiny Hero back. The problem with this card is it completely ignores Vision Heroes. You're talking about Elemental Heroes to gain a Destiny Hero. There's no Vision Hero. And the new hero deck relies a lot on Vision Heroes. So that's the key to the deck. And this could be a little bricky. Let's say you drew all your Destiny Heroes, right? You drew all your things. It's not gonna be worth it anymore. So this is a bit situational. Maybe it'll work, but I would say no, just because it ignores the Vision Heroes completely. That is it. Let's move on to the last thing, upcoming news. KC Cup is happening in a few days, March 31st to April 12th. Early April, Mission Circuit, Gravekeeper's Visionary. Mid-April, Tag Duel Tournament, Wandering King, Wildwind, Gaia Drake, The Universal Force. Mid-April, Duel Quest. Late April, Memories of a Friend, new cards and skill. Late April, Mission Circuit, new card called Chain Close. Late April, Duelist Chronicles 5Ds, Majestic Star Dragons coming, and a new skill called Majestic Light. That is it for the podcast. We're going to get to Carly's level up cards and skills at some other episode, maybe next week. Probably next week because the Kaiba Cup's going on. So, wrap it up. This is Duel Assessment Podcast. If you like this podcast, please search it and like and subscribe. Check out the podcast and more at the website, theduelassessment.wordpress.com. Email me with anything to duelassessment@gmail.com or on Twitter, duel_assessment at my own account at Green Rangers CCG. All right? So that is it. Stay safe, everyone. See you next time.